Hi, everyone. Monica, I'm excited to be here tonight. Let me see who we have on. Okay, I see four people on. Can you comment in the chat in the comment box? Let me know who you are so I can shout you out. All right. How's everyone doing today? Or I guess it's tonight. Comment and let me know as well so I can say hi. So welcome everyone. As always, when we get started, what we do is we hashtag Flow Tribe if you're part of the Flow Tribe. Give me a thumbs up if you're watching live. Give me a wave if you're watching the replay. All right. And tonight I am excited because I want to talk to you about this one shift in your thinking that will really help you change the way you see this new year and flow into it with more purpose. And really, you don't have to wait until the new year to do this. So we're going to talk about that shift in thinking and 3 strategies to help you apply that. Hey, Michelle. Hey, sis. How are you? Thanks for joining. Hey, Demara. And hey, Missy. Thanks for being here tonight, ladies. I totally appreciate it. Um, yeah, so you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So everybody kind of comment and let me know, how was your day today? Give me one word to describe your day today. I'll tell you mine. It was good, but it was a tiring day today. It was a little bit tiring, but it was good. Tell me how you're doing today. How was your day? I see Demara says she was doing well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with our conversation tonight. I'm really excited about this topic because I've been really thinking about, as we move into the end of 2019 and move into 2020, what that really is looking like for us, right? In real time, not based on what everybody says and, oh, this is going to be your year and all that good stuff. But what is it really looking like for us individually? Looks like Missy says relaxing. Michelle said good. So good. Oh, I'm so happy you're relaxing, Missy. Um, and so one of the things that I've been thinking about is, I'm a major, one of the people who say this all the time, finish this year strong. I've been hashtagging 2019 finish strong to death. Hey, Mama Rose. Oh, y'all, she's like my mentor. Oh my God. I'm so glad you joined me tonight. But yeah, so I've been thinking about 2020, moving into it. And again, I'm always like, finish this year strong. What can you do to finish this year strong? I'm committed. I'm dedicated to helping you think of strategies, biblical strategies to unlock your thinking so that you can really move into the next phase of your life, maximize your life, have massive impact. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot is when we talk about finishing this year strong and moving into 2020, and we're going to, move into 2020, bigger, better, bolder, all that good stuff. What does that really mean? What does it really mean? And what I really want to talk about is I want us to shift our thinking. And this is the one shift in thinking I really believe can help you, not the only shift, but it's one shift that you can make in your thinking that really helps you identify where you are and help you really get a good handle on your year and how you want to manage it and maximize it, how you want to live in it. And that one shift is this. I want you to think about your new year in terms of your new season, not your new year. Your new year in terms of season, right? And so what am I saying? So, we have 4 seasons, winter, spring, and summer, fall, right? We all know that. December through March, I had to write this down because I couldn't remember. December through March, March through June is spring, summer is June through September, and fall is September through December. Yet the calendar year falls on January 1st, right? That's the calendar year. And so depending on which season you think is the first season, is winter first, spring, summer, fall, right? It just really depends. And that's pretty much how our life is, right? Everybody's in different seasons of their life. And often what we do is we think about our years in the terms of 12 months. And when we're thinking and aligning our thinking with biblical principles, we're aligning our thinking with the way that God is looking at our lives, we have to align our year along with his timing, not ours. All right. And so what I want to really think about, let's think about this scripture in Genesis 8, in verse 22 that says, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat and summer and winter and day and night. It shall not cease. We're always going to have a time to sow, a time to harvest, a time that is cold, a time that is hot, a time that is day, and a time that is night. Those are the seasons that we actually also go through in life, right? We have times when things seem really dark and dim. Sometimes we call that our winter season, and we don't really move a lot. It's not a lot going on in those seasons. How do we manage our lives in those seasons? And I'm going to tell you something. When you start thinking about what you have to do to finish this year strong. Now, again, I'm all about finishing 2019 strong. However, right, when I talk about finishing this year strong, I'm not talking about finishing your season, because when January 1st rolls around, you very well may be in the season you were in 2 months ago. And so you're not going to be able to move at the same pace in the same way as everybody else who's like, got these goals on January 1st, I'm going to be doing this. And by the end of the first quarter, I'm going to be doing that. It may look different for you. And it's really important that you keep your eyes set on God. What is my season? And that's the question I want us to ask ourselves. When we end this live, I want you to continue to process this question. What season are you in? What season are you in? And so I'm going to talk about 3 things that you need to think about when it comes to really maximizing your life, shifting your thinking around your new season, not really just your new year. All right. And so the first season is, and they're different seasons. I just identified a few of them. It's a season of work. It's a season where we're just busy. We're getting a lot of things done. It doesn't seem like we have a lot of time for extracurricular activities or relationships. It seems that it's just a lot of stuff. And you might hear things like, people might say things like, man, we haven't talked in a long time, or you're always so busy. The truth is, that's just the season that you're in. You're not in a season where you have a lot of extra time to pour into people or to do a lot of extra things in the same way. Now, it doesn't mean you're not pouring into people, because sometimes we have to remember a lot of what we do to pour into other people and to serve other people actually happens as we are praying for them. It's not necessarily in our physical company. And so I say that to say, if you're in a heavy season of work, that may be a season that you're just in. That may not change on January 1st. That's a season of life that you're in, and you've got to manage that well. And we're going to talk about that. Hey, Ashley, another season is a waiting season. This is a really interesting season. A season of waiting is really a season where you feel like you're trying to move and get something done, and you just can't seem to move. You can't seem to get that thing going. And this is, interesting, because God was telling me this in a particular area of my life where I have to wait. Now, let me stop here and throw this caveat out. You can be in more than one season in your life in different areas. Right? There's a season in a particular area of my life where I'm very much in a waiting season. And there are other areas of my life where God is saying it's time for you to work. You got a lot of work to do in that season. And so this is why it's really important to identify where you are. Because if we're looking at the way that society looks at seasons, society looks at life, maybe not necessarily according to biblical principles, we're trying to do things out of timing, and we're out of step with God, and it frustrates our efforts and we don't see the results. Okay. So a lot of time it's not a lack of results because of lack of effort. It's not a lack of results because of a lack of desire. It's a lack of results because we're out of step. We're not in the right space with God. We've got to walk in step with him. So we're not working against God, right? Moving too fast, moving too slow. We're working with him. So waiting season it reminds me of Acts chapter 1 in the Bible, where there's a story where Jesus, he was resurrected from the dead. He's walking around, hanging out with his boys and chilling, eating fish and on the beach, all that good stuff, right? And then he tells them, like, I'm going to heaven. I'm going to need you guys to wait until I send the Holy Spirit that I promised you, right? To empower you to do this work. Hear me. He told them to wait so they could be empowered. So they had to wait. I think it was about 10 days. They had to wait until they receive what God had said. And so in your waiting season, you have to know what you need to be doing in that season. We're going to talk about that, but that's another season where you can't fix it. You can't do anything about it. You just have to sit in it and wait. And so another season is a season of warfare, right? A season where you're like, just feel like you're under spiritual attack. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you what I know. We are always at war in the spirit realm. It's always a spiritual war going on. Just so we know this, it's always happening. All right. And so, what you have to think about is, identifying what areas in your life, where is there just spiritual warfare? It's not because you did anything wrong. It's not because God is angry with you. It's just an attack, right? That God has allowed in your life because the enemy is trying to frustrate your efforts because you're doing what you should be doing. You're doing what you should be doing. Now, it's important to identify spiritual attack, right? For, the sake of Christ, if you will, versus discipline because of something that God is trying to correct in your life. There is a difference. All right. And so I'm talking about the spiritual attack where you are moving into things of God. You're not perfect by no means, right? But you're moving into things of God. Your eyes are focused. Your eyes are staying consistently on him. And it's just attack after attack after attack because the enemy does not want you. As the Bible says, he is here to steal, kill, and destroy everything that God has promised, is trying to destroy everything that God has promised you. And he can't take it from you, but he wants you to forfeit it. He wants to frustrate you enough to forfeit what God has promised to you. And that's a spirit of warfare. Another season you might find yourself in is a season of rest. We all love this season, right? This season of rest is where, you've been under a lot of times, a lot of spiritual oppression, or a lot of spiritual attack, and God gives you a season of rest from your enemies, right? And enemies, not necessarily meaning people, but it could be. But that spiritual warfare or people or situations that continually push against what God is trying to do in your life. I think about 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 1. If you read this story, this is really the story of David's life. And when you get to 2 Samuel chapter 7, David is kind of laying in the bed. His house is built. He had just finished warring and fighting for a while to get the kingdom set up, right? To get God's the place of worship set up, the city of David, Jerusalem set up, right? And so he's finally done. God has, and it said that David was laying there and God had given him rest from his enemies. So understand when you're in a season of war, right? Don't forget that while you're in war, things are being built, whether you see it or not. God is doing something in that season, but he will give you a season of rest. Thanks, Tasha, for putting the seasons in here. I appreciate it. He will give you a season of rest. So maybe you're in your season of rest where you're not under a lot of heavy persecution. You're not under a lot of heavy attack and war. What do you do in that season? We're going to talk about it. All right. And another season I identified is harvest season, right? Everybody wants harvest. That's the thing about every time we get into a new year. One thing you hear is, oh my God, this is your season. This is your season. God's going to give you this and he's going to do that. I don't know. It's not everybody's season all the time. It just isn't. Now, it is always a season for God to do work in our life and for righteousness to prevail and peace and prosperity. But we're not always reaping what we've sown in a particular season. All right. There is, as the Bible says in Genesis, seed time and harvest. You may be in a seeding season, not a harvest season. Right. And so when you're in a harvest season, you are reaping what you've sown. What you've planted is actually ripe and it's ready. You're not picking fruit before it's time. Those green bananas that really are still bananas, but they don't really taste good because they're not that sweet, right? Or those avocados that are really, really hard. You got to let them sit out and get soft a little bit so that you can actually eat them, or mangoes. You have to wait until it's ripe and ready to eat. And you have to pick it at its right time. All right. Because then the harvest can go bad because you didn't take the time to pick it. That's a whole nother live. But basically, that's another season. So a working season where we're really busy, really doing what God has called us to do. And it seems like we just can't get a break, but God is empowering us to do that work. Waiting season, a warfare season, a rest season, and a harvest season. So I want you to comment real quick. Tell me, what season do you think you're in? Or if you don't know, just say, you know what? I don't know, or I haven't thought about it. And it could be any particular area of life. You could say one area, I'm in this season, another area, I'm in another season. Because it just depends. All right. So I know in one area of my life, as mentioned, I'm in a waiting season, very much in a waiting season. And y'all, I'm telling you, I was praying about this, like, oh my God, what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. I've done everything I know to do. I prayed this for like 2 weeks and I felt like God was not speaking to me. And I was journaling one day and the Holy Spirit said to me, wait. He said, wait, you can't fix it. You can't do anything about it. You have to wait. You just have to wait and sit in it. I'm telling y'all, I was like, Lord of mercy. Now, here's what's interesting. Him telling me that was actually relief for me because now at least I knew it was a season that he ordained. It wasn't something just randomly happened that I couldn't figure out. I was asking God, like, am I sinning? Is something going on in my life? Like, what's going on? And he's like, wait. It's just a season of waiting. Damaris says she's in a rest season. Praise God for that. She's in a rest season. So keep commenting below what season you're in. And we will continue to talk about this. Now, that's the first thing. You have to identify what season you're in. Your new season may not start January 1. So get it out of your head and just chill on that. January 1 for some of us is just another date on the calendar in the same season that we're in. Some of us, our season might shift in May or June or September. That might be the start of your new year. It is okay. And so this relieves the pressure from you feeling like you got to get stuff done in a way that is forcing or pushing things to happen in your life that it's just not time for. All right, the second thing that you need to think about when you are shifting your mindset into thinking of your new season versus your new year is identify what you need it to thrive in this season. That's really important. That's how we talk about this. So when you're in certain seasons, it's not so much about this you being in the season, but now you need to know, what do I need in this season so that I can thrive? Hear me, not just survive and not be complacent. One of the things about hey, Miss Joyce, thanks for tuning in. One of the things about a rest season, Demara, I'll share this with you and anybody who's in a rest season. One of the things you want to be mindful of when you're in a season of rest is being complacent. Because it's really easy when you've been under a lot of pressure or warfare or things have been going on and you finally get a chance of, I can rest, right? Sometimes we just get complacent because we're just tired. Like, finally, I can rest. But in the season of rest is a season for you to actually prepare spiritually, because you're going to have another season. It is time for you to really think about, where am I spiritually? I talked about this last week, sweeping some of those areas of your life. Looking at those areas of your life and some holes that may be open, some gaps the enemy may be able to get in that you weren't able to really see because you were in a heavy season of warfare, a heavy season of work, or even a season of harvest. Now, hear me. It's not that you can't identify these things while you're in those seasons, but when you're at rest, even when your body's at rest, it's regenerating. This is a time God is regenerating, rejuvenating you. And so in that season, you want to be really intentional about asking God, what is it? What areas in my life are you trying to develop and to grow, and be sensitive to that, and actually also rejoice in the rest, because Lord Jesus, we need to do that. All right. And so definitely, if you are in a rest season, you definitely want to worship, right? You want to get clear on where you are. You want to gain clarity on areas in your life that God is saying, hey, I need to grow you in these areas. Because when that season of warfare or work or whatever comes up, again, you're going to need those areas in your life clocked in and fortified so the enemy doesn't come in and try to take advantage of areas in your life that you haven't taken the time while God has given you rest, right, to regenerate, to rejuvenate in him. All right. Let's say you are in a work season. One of the greatest things about a season of work is that you are heavily, often reliant on God, right? Because it's so much work. You start to realize, I can't do this in my own strength. But the very thing that you rely on is sometimes the very thing that you don't rely on, which is interesting. So because what I'm saying is we get so busy sometimes, I shared this a few weeks ago, we get so busy in these seasons that we just start going. And we don't stop to ask ourselves, am I still moving in the grace of God, right? Or am I moving in my strength? We talked about that in a live video a couple weeks ago. I won't get into that. But one of the things, if you're in a season of heavy work, right? And as you go into this new year, that season is still there. Continue to do the work, but listen, this is so important for workers who are in working seasons. You have to take the time to get with God. You cannot compromise your quiet time with God, because it's going to be so easy to just get up and move. I got to get it done. And you're going to be moving nowhere fast. So, and I'm in that season of work in one area of my life, and I have to be intentional about spending time with God and not allowing the pressure of the work to move me. You got it? So don't lose that. Don't lose that. And those who are in a waiting season, this is really, really interesting. When you're in a waiting season, sometimes you just ready to jump out the box. Like, I'm just ready to move on this thing. It's time. I'm ready to go. What you need to do, one of the things I want you to think about in your waiting season is that it's important that you identify what it is. And you can ask God this. God, is there a reason that you're having me waiting? He might not answer, but he might. This whole thing that we can't ask God why, or we can't do all that, I don't know where that comes from. But we can certainly ask God questions. God, I feel like I'm in a season of waiting. What is it you're wanting from me? What do you want to do in me? And help me to wait. That might be the prayer that you got to pray every day. Please help me not to move out of step with you. When you move out of step with God, it frustrates the season. It frustrates, and it really can prolong your season. Actually, any of these seasons when you're moving out of step with God can prolong the place that you are, and you're ready to move. And God is like, nah, like we've got to stay here. There's something I'm trying to do in you and to get out of you. All right. Your harvest season. I talked about this a little bit. When you're in your harvest season, one of the things you want to identify is making sure that you're ready to pick the fruit that has been sown. Let me tell you something. This is really, really important. A lot of times people are so excited about the harvest season. Oh my God, God's gonna, I'm gonna reap what I've sown. It's my time. But let me tell y'all something. This is something I know. If you have not sown in the other seasons properly, you will have nothing to harvest. I'm telling you. And so one of the things that I'm really learning is that I want to make sure that in the season when I'm waiting, or the season when I'm working really hard, or the season when I'm even resting, or those cold and winter seasons, that I'm still sowing into the things that God is telling me to sow in. That includes financially. It's my time, it's my resources, it's my talent, my gifts. You've got to sow in the season that you're in before you can even harvest. And even when you're in harvest season, you can still be sowing. You can still be sowing. And I'm telling you, sometimes we say things like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. This is my, the beginning of the year. This is my year. This is my season, right? Mid-year, now we're like, things aren't happening yet. We're still waiting, not realizing when God had you in the other seasons, you weren't sowing. So now you're in a harvest season and you're not reaping a full harvest because you didn't sow. So you've got to focus on what you need to do while you're in the season that you're in. If you're in a warfare season, I talked about a work season, a wait season, a rest season, a harvest season. If you're in a warfare season, Lord of mercy. If you're in a warfare season, this is one of the best things you can do. Hear me. If you're in a warfare season, one is to recognize that God is not mad at you and that you are doing the work of God and the enemy is trying to attack that. You are where you need to be. The second thing is, don't do this alone. Get a prayer partner. Get some destiny connectors, people that can pray for you. I think I have a couple of mine on here now. I think I saw Margie and Taj, who I can ask. And I actually say, I pray. Like I can just say pray. Like I'm under some heavy attack. I need you. And I'm telling you what I know. Within the last month, definitely this last quarter of the year, ever since I decided, I was launching this 90 days of flow and being really intentional, it's been real. But let me tell you something. I know it's because of the prayers of the righteous, those who have been praying and interceding for me, those I probably don't even know, that I have not lost my mind, y'all. I know it because the enemy has attacked me in ways that I have never, it's just been, I can't even put it into words. And I know it's because I have destiny connectors who are praying for me, who are engaging me, that are helping me not just keep my head above water, but continue to thrive and flow in the season of warfare that I'm in. All right. So not only do you have to stay in God's word, and I'm gonna be honest, when you're in a heavy warfare season, it's hard sometimes. It is hard for me to pray sometimes. It's hard for me to have my quiet time and get my mind centered and get focused. It's challenging. And so I need those who are stronger in the moment. When I'm having a weak moment or moments, I need those who are strong to undergird me and to help lift me up. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't say that I don't have great faith. It doesn't say that I don't love God. What it says is I'm human and I'm aware that my humanity is being engaged in the warfare. We have to understand that our humanity is feeling that. And so you've got to have people in your life who can lift you and pray for you, because if you don't, it is really hard to sustain that. One of the greatest gifts that God has given us outside of salvation in Jesus is each other. One of the greatest gifts we have is each other. I don't know where I'd be or what I do if in this warfare season that I've been in, if I did not have I call them, again, my destiny connectors and people who I know are praying and interceding for me, those I know and don't know. I don't know where I would be. And I know it's because the Spirit of God has given those people to me, just like he's given me to you to intercede and to pray for you and to hold you up in a way that he's ordained me to do that. All right. So if you're in a heavy warfare season, definitely your own, time with God, your own continuing to realize that God is not angry with you, no self-condemnation, but really what's really important is having other people support you in that season. Don't go into battle alone. So you got to identify your season, right? You got to know what you need in your season. And the other thing is, before I even go there, tell me whatever season you're in, right? What is something that you know you need right now in the season that you're in? Is it to be more thankful, to rejoice? Is it to have some accountability partners? Tell me what you're needing in the season that you're in. And then I'm going to talk about one more thing. One other thing I want to share with you is I love what Tasha said. Who's going to battle with you? You shouldn't have to look for them. Boy, this is good. Let me put this up here real quick. This is really important. And I'm going to hang here just for a second. Who is going to battle with you? You shouldn't have to look for them. In other words, you shouldn't have to go hunt down people who say they're in your life, who say they're connected with you to have them pray for you. And you shouldn't have to bare your soul either. You should be able to say to people, pray. And you shouldn't have to give all the details, if you don't feel comfortable doing that or if God hasn't led you to do that. And they should be able to pray through the Spirit, right, for you. And God knows exactly what to give them to say. So I'm not saying that you don't ever want to share whatever it is that, you're going through with people. You have to use your discretion, but you shouldn't have to do that to have people pray for you. That's one thing I have really come to learn. All right, we're identifying our season. What season are you in? I'm missing one. Oh, one of the things that I want you to think about too. It's really important to identify. Oh, that's what it was. It was not to compare seasons. That was the third thing I want to share with you, right? So you're moving into a new year. You're moving into 2019. You're going to have people who are in a season where they move into 2020 and it's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be on and popping for them. And you feel like, what about me? What about me? I mean, God, I've been doing this. You know how we give God our spiritual resume. I've been doing this and I've been doing that. And what about me? And I want you not to compare seasons because what God is doing in your life is not about the other person's season. It's about your season. It's about what he needs to do in your life. And here's why it's important to identify the season and know what you need. This is your point. I want you to hold on to this. It's important to identify your season and to know what you need so that you can stay in your season and not stray out of your season. You got to stay in your season, not stray in your season. And that's what we do. We start comparing our season to someone else's season. What about me? And you think, oh my goodness, I've been doing that. And it's my turn to do this and to do that. Let me tell you something. When you are in a particular season that God's preparing you for next, you don't want to stray into the next season because you're not ready for that yet. You may not be ready for the warfare that's over there. You may not be ready for even the harvest. You may not be ready to be responsible enough yet. God is using this season, the season that you're in right now, this very season, whether it's lack or abundance, no matter where you are, he is using this season to develop you, right, for what he's called you to refine you, so that you can have the character that is necessary to sustain the success that he wants in your life. And you cannot stray from that because you will never get to see the maximum impact in your life or have massive impact in the lives of others because you strayed from your season. You strayed from your season. And one thing, I know I've done this, so this is how I know, right? When you're in these seasons and you think, what about me? It's my time. You've actually taken the focus off of God, and you're now putting it on you. What about me? Well, your life isn't just about you. We know this. We always say it, but it really isn't. It's about the greater kingdom. What is God doing? You're a part of a puzzle, not the entire puzzle. We're all pieces. And sometimes we extrapolate our life from that puzzle and we make our own puzzle with it. And we're thinking, okay, God, put these pieces together so it can look like this. And he's like, no. I've got to put you back in the bigger picture. We are part of a bigger picture. And so when we all start moving in places that were not designed, it doesn't flow well. And this is all about flow. Right, guys? So make sure you're not comparing seasons because honestly, it doesn't do you any good. You get frustrated. You're not going anywhere with it. And it doesn't change the fact that God's not moving you. My dad would always tell me, there's no social promotion in the kingdom. You don't get moved into positions because you've been in one position long enough. It's no, I've been in first grade forever. So, you know how in the school system, you've been in first grade for a long time. So then they move you to the next grade. Ain't none of that. None of that's happening in the kingdom. God is going to move you on levels and dimensions based on his design, his desire, and his plan for you, and your submission and yielding to that in your life. Because you never want your character to take you where your you never want your gifts and talents to take you where your character cannot keep you. And that's what God is doing. He's developing our character so we can endure what he has for us. And finally, last couple minutes, I want to share this with you is what you can do in every season. No matter what season you're in, there are things that you need to do in every single season. And if you do these things in every season, no matter where you are, you're in your flow. You're living in your flow. You need to pray in every single season and submit. Pray and surrender. Not just pray to be talking, but pray so that you can surrender to whatever it is God is saying for you to do. Pray so that you can understand God's will for your life in that situation, and pray so that you can have strength to bear up under whatever that season is or not become complacent in that season. You also want to rejoice or give thanks. You want to be grateful. One thing I've learned is that without the suffering, there is no satisfaction, y'all. If I didn't go through some suffering, I could not be satisfied in my life because I wouldn't know what it is to see God prevail. And so when you're in a season, no matter what season you're in, be grateful for the season because God is doing something in you. He is developing you and it's showing that he loves you because he cares enough to keep you in a place to develop you so that you can be the best. He's never going to put you in front of people. He never want to put you out so that you are going to be ashamed or you're not going to be prepared or ready. So thank God, rejoice. Right? Rejoice while you're there and be grateful for what God has done for you. Don't look at the gaps that you have. Look at the gains that you've made, right? Not the gaps. Oh, I should do this. And what about this? But look at the gains that you've made while you've been where you are. The other thing I mentioned this earlier is sow. You definitely want to keep sowing and sowing and sowing because seed time and harvest will come. So you want to have a harvest. So continue to sow. Right? And the last thing is worship. And when I mean worship, I don't mean just singing and all that kind of stuff. I mean living a life that actually exemplifies and lifts up God in your life, that people can see no matter what season that you're in, they can see the glory of God in your life. They can see the characteristics and the attributes of God by the way that you are bearing up, whether it's under pressure or the way that you're even handling the rest, that people can see there's something different about her. And I'm telling you, when you do that, when you think about praying, rejoicing, sowing, and worshiping, and you do that in every single season, no matter what season it is, you are in your flow. That is divine purpose, because then you're surrendering to what God has for you. Flowing isn't about having stuff. It's about flowing in the supernatural divine spirit. And when you flow in the spirit, there is no want. Oh, I'm going to get excited, right? There's natural want. But you are spiritually fulfilled. And I'm telling you, this year will be crazy for you. You will have more peace than you've ever had. You will have more, even prosperity, not just financial prosperity, but whole life, mental, emotional health that you haven't had, because you're actually identifying the season that you're in and you are going with God and you're surrendering in that season. And if you shift your mindset from years to seasons, it changes everything. You don't have to have everything right by January 1st. You can finish this year strong, still by closing the door on some things and all that good stuff, but you don't have to have everything correct, right? In a way that maybe some other people are making you feel, oh, I'm going to get this done, get that done. You might not do your vision board until April. Go for it. You might not do a vision board until June because the season that you're in, the last vision board ain't finished yet. And it's okay. There is no rush. We are in no rush when it comes to God. We pace with him and we prosper with him. We pace with him so we can prosper with him. You got it? All right. And that is it for me. Any comments or questions? Any comments or questions? Let's see. I love putting comments on the screen. What we got here? Let's see. Sowing into the kingdom can be your time, money, being God's hands and feet, helping people. Absolutely. You can go way deeper on what sowing is. Thank you for that, Margie, because it's true. Sowing isn't just about money. Because what if you're in a season where you're in a season of lack, where you don't have it? Like you don't have any money. What if you're a season where you're literally, can't even pay your rent or whatever that case may be, right? What do you do? Right? What do you do? You have your time, you have your gifts. Let me see. I'm sorry, you have your time, you have your gifts. And sowing isn't just about giving money into, efforts that promote kingdom or promote charity or things of that nature. It's really about, sacrificing your time and your energy. And sometimes time for some people is way more valuable than money. And when you sacrifice things for the kingdom, God always takes care of you. I can put money on, I can tell you. And you can also sow in worship and praise. Absolutely. Miss Joyce says, comparison of seasons. This is one of the downside. Oh my God, this is true. Let me put this up here. Comparison of seasons. One of the downsides of social media posts and the picture that is painted, whether true or make believe. Know your season, grow in your season. Y'all, let me tell you something. This is so true. This is why we have to be careful about what we're posting, why we're posting, and check our motives and our hearts. Because you don't even know. Let me say this to you. Sometimes you don't even know by what you're posting if you're actually hindering your brother and sister by posting things that could cause them to fall or stumble. And I know we don't like to think about that. We don't like to think about sometimes other people will say things like, oh, well, that's their problem, or I'm just posting what I need to post. Yeah, but I care about my sister and my brother. And I don't want to do anything that will cause them to stumble. Now, it doesn't mean that every single post I make, I got to be concerned about every single person. I can never post anything. But let me tell you what I do know. I do know sometimes when I've posted before that God is like, what you doing that for? Check your motive. What is that about? Because he's not only just checking my motive, he's also probably protecting some other children that he has from some things that we can put on social media that can be harmful or damaging to others. And we've got to keep that in mind. We've got to care for one another. One of the things I love about Missy's, Melissa's, who's on our live, her posts are always about how do we care for one another? How do we nurture it? How do we show compassion to other people? How do we lift people up? If we have that focus in our life, then we don't have to focus on the challenges and struggles we're going through as much because we're so busy encouraging our sister and our brother. And before you know it, we're actually no longer in the season that we think we're in, this challenging season, because we're seeing God do something in the life of others because of our obedience just to sow into our sisters and our brothers. Oh, hey, Rosie. She says, flowing in the supernatural power of God. I love that. Let me tell you, that's another live about flowing in the supernatural power, because we do have superpowers, y'all. There are things that we can do that people who don't have this power cannot do. We have access to things to live a life that is extraordinary because of the power that we have access to. I won't go into that today, but any other comments? I don't see any. I mean, there were a lot said today, but yeah, thank you guys for joining me again tonight. I hope this is helpful as you think about moving out of 2019 into 2020, and that there's no pressure to perform. There's no pressure to try to be, no pressure to try to do. If your life just happens to be flowing on the calendar year, absolutely go for it. And do what you got to do, but don't let there be any pressure to perform for God or for others. Flow in your season, as Miss Joyce says, so that you can grow in your season. And when you do that, then you can see the hand of God and the prosperity of God in your life in every area. I'm telling you. All right. And so that is tonight. I love you too, Miss Joyce. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live next Wednesday. I thought about it, but I'm not sure. I will put it on Facebook. Right now, I don't know, 50-50. So I'll put it on Facebook next week, or maybe even later this week if I decide to do a live next week. It may be on Christmas Eve. It may be a Christmas special. I have some swag that I want to give away. I'm so excited about that. So make sure you keep joining me live and join my email list at monicaspate.com, because I'm going to be doing some new series that I can encourage you with. And only those on my email list will get access to those free training series. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Merry Christmas, everyone, and I pray that you have an amazing rest of this year. Although I'll be back the last week of the year. I'll be back before the year is out. I'll be doing at least one more live before the year is out. So I look forward to connecting with everybody. All right. Say goodnight to everyone and Merry Christmas.